Welcome to INF272 lecture. So in this lecture we are going to focus on the HTML and CSS that you did in INF164. So this lecture is going to be divided into two parts. So the first part will be your theory. Then in the second part we are going to expand our skills by building a small portfolio website using pure CSS and HTML. So you are going to need Visual Studio Code as usual, and you are going to need an extension called pesticide. So to download pesticide, you just say pesticide on your Chrome. So you just say pesticide Chrome extension. Then you go to the first link. Then after clicking the first link, you will add this extension. So there will be an add button. If you haven't added the extension on your Chrome, then you are going to click on the add button. After adding the Chrome extension to your Chrome, you just click on these three dots. So then you say more tools, then you say extensions. Then you are going to look for your pesticide. You click on details. So you just scroll down until you see this allow access to file URLs. Then you enable that specific section. So let me start by setting my environment. So you can use your Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to create a folder named lecture 0. So in this folder, I'm going to need two files. So I'm going to need index.html. That's the first file that I'm going to need, and another file that I'm going to need. Oh, first I have to navigate through this lecture 0. Then I can create my two files, index.html. So I'm going to save this. Then the next file that I need is styles.css. So for you guys use your Visual Studio Code, it's easier than this process. So I need styles.css. So at the end I have this folder lecture 0, which was not there. Then when I double click, I have two files, index.html and styles.css. So let's start with the theory. So I'm not going to go into detail with the theory. I'm going to summarize what you did. So we know that HTML is hypertext. It's a hypertext markup language. It's not a programming language. It's a hypertext markup language that is used to create the structure of your website. CSS, which is the cascading style sheets, is the presentation of a web page. It is used to style a website. Then we have your JavaScript. JavaScript allows your website to perform certain actions. So we are going to start with the basic structure of a website. So every website must have this specific HTML structure. So the first thing is this doc type HTML. So this line tells the browser that you are using HTML5, which is the latest version of HTML. So if I do this on HTML, if I do this HTML, then I'm going to get this basic structure. There's a shortcut on Visual Studio Code to get this same basic structure. So this first line tells the browser that we are currently using HTML5, which is the latest version of HTML. So the second part is the HTML. So the HTML, this HTML is the beginning of your HTML document. So in between these two HTML tags, it's the it's your HTML code. So this HTML indicates the beginning of your HTML document. Then the next part that we are going to focus on is the head section. So we have this head section. So in this head section, so if I do this, in this head section, we put, this head section contains the important information regarding the website. So it only contains the important information regarding the website. So inside this head, the most important thing is this title. So this title, it's the title of your website. So for example, if I say this is my website, if I open this in my Chrome, I'm going to get this empty website, but notice that the title here at the top, this is my website, it's displayed. So that's the function of this title. It gives a heading to your website. Normally you find logos as your heading. Then we have your body. So this body contains information that will be displayed on your website. So if I write text inside this body and try to refresh my website, I'm going to get this text because it's inside the body. So the body contains the visible part of your website. So that's the summary of the structure. Then we can move to basic HTML text. Before we consider text, let's consider HTML elements. So HTML elements are the building blocks of a website. These are enclosed in angular brackets. So if I go to this website again, I have this HTML which is enclosed in between angular brackets. So this is an element. This head, it's an element. This body, it's an element because it's enclosed within angular brackets. Then we have HTML tags. So an HTML tag, it's this HTML element enclosed within this angular bracket. So both an HTML element and the angular brackets form an HTML tag. So this is an HTML tag. Then we can move. Many HTML tags have corresponding closing tags. So if we consider this head, it has this forward slash head. This is a closing tag. If we consider this body, it has this corresponding forward slash body. This is a closing tag of the body. Same with the HTML. It has this closing HTML tag. So a closing tag, you will see a closing tag with a forward slash. So those are the basics of HTML tags. So there are few tags that do not require closing tags. So now we can dive into examples of HTML tags. So we have this paragraph tag. So paragraph tag is this P. Then you put a text inside, so it's indicated by an element P. So P is for paragraph. Then you put the text in between. Then you have this is your opening paragraph tag, this is your closing paragraph tag. So in general, to create a paragraph in your website, you just say open, then P, then you just close. In between, you put your text. This is my paragraph. You can write anything. So you can write anything. Then let's see how this works on our website. So if I refresh this, you can see that I have this text. This is my paragraph. So let's use our pesticide. So I'm going to click on this extension, then I'm going to pin this pesticide. So now I have something like this. If I click this pesticide, look at this. You see this paragraph takes the whole width of this page. So this is a block element. Even though I didn't write a long paragraph, after this anything text, here it is empty, but you can see this paragraph takes the whole width. So this is a block element. So the paragraph tag is used to write text. Then what if we want to, let's say I want to write multiple lines. So this is another line of my paragraph. So if I say this is another line of my paragraph, I'm going to get something. I'm expecting to get, this is my paragraph, you can write anything. Then I'm expecting a new line because I clicked enter. But let's try to refresh the page and see what's going to happen. So this is another paragraph. It's on the same line as that first line. How is this possible? So in HTML, you can't, enter doesn't represent a new line the same way you did with INF164 for C#. For C#, you had to use a new line character. But for HTML, you are going to use this break. So it's BR. It doesn't have a closing tag. So break indicates a new line character. So if I refresh my page now, I have this is my paragraph. You can write anything. Then I have a new line. So wherever you see break, it's a new line. Even if I try to put break here, so I have this break here, then I try to refresh, this will be on a new line. So this U is going to be on a new line. So now if I click my pesticide, you can see that my paragraph is this whole thing. So it's just a box. At the end, everything in HTML is just boxes. So this paragraph is just a box. So it takes the whole width. Then we will see when we build the website, we will explain the different types of display elements. For now, let's focus on the basics. So the next element that we are going to consider, so we consider the new line tag, which is the break. So it does not have a closing tag. Then the next tag is the heading tag. So for the heading, you can have H1. Then you can use H1 up to H6. So let's see how the heading works. So I can say, I can put my H. So this H1, then I can say this is my heading. Then I save. So it does have an opening tag and a closing tag. So now let's refresh our website. Look at this. This is my heading. So it's a heading, it's bold. So the default style for this heading is this. It's bold and it's large. So if I enable pesticide, also the heading element takes the entire width. Whether you wrote a full text or not, it takes the entire width. At the end, it's just a box. So let's try different types of headings. We have, I can say H2, then this is another heading. So I can close. Then when I refresh, I'm getting a smaller heading compared to the H1 heading. So if I go to H3, I'm expecting a smaller heading than H2. This is a third heading. So if I refresh this side, I have this is my heading. So this one is large, then this one is smaller than the previous one, and this one is smaller than the previous one. So this means as you move from H1 through to H6, the size or the text or the font of the heading gets smaller. So that's the different types of headings. So the next part that we are going to consider is this this image tag. So the image tag is defined by two attributes. We have the src and the alt. So attributes provide additional information for the element. So how do we insert an image? So we are going to have this img element. So this is an element, this is an attribute, then equals to, then we put the value. Alt is also an attribute, then equals to, it's a value. Then let's see how this image works. So first I'm going to download a random image. Maybe I can say image of a small, something like that. Then I'm going to say images, then I'm going to save any image. So I like this one, so I'm going to say save image as. So I'm going to save this image in the same folder as my HTML and CSS file. So I can say picture. So notice the extension is JPEG. So it's also important to note the extension. You can have PNG, you can have animations, and you can have other formats. So in this case, I have JPEG. So I'm going to save this picture. Then I'm going to use the image, I'm going to say img. Then I'm going to say, okay, source or src indicates your source. So for source, if the image is in the same folder as your HTML and index, or as your index.html, then you have to put the name of the image. So my name is picture.jpg in this case. Then alt is the text, it's the alternative text that you can provide if the image is not in the folder. So this is a picture of a dog, so it's just a text. Then I close. So the image tag doesn't require a closing tag, so it's always like this. So it's img. Then here you can either put the name of the picture, or you can put the path of this specific image. Then this alt is just a text that is going to be displayed. So let's try to refresh our website. So this is a picture of a dog. So what went wrong? If I consider this image, you see, because this thing was wrong, this alternative text showed me that this is a picture of a dog, even though the dog is not there. So it's the alternative text. Notice that my picture here is .jpg. So instead I wrote JPEG, so it's JPG. So I'm going to save this. Now if I refresh the page, I'm going to get this picture of this dog. So another thing that you can do, you can change the width and height, which is not recommended. Normally you change the width and height using CSS. So width, I can say equals to 200 pixels. So if I try to refresh this, it's smaller, so I can increase this, maybe 800 pixels. Then I refresh. Now the image is larger. So, but you don't usually change the height and the width using HTML. We are going to use CSS for that specific section. Then the next part, we have the hyperlink tag. So this hyperlink tag allows the user to navigate from one page to another page. So in summary, we have this A. It's represented by the A element. So you can put your maybe text. You can say this is a link. Maybe you can say to Google. So we want to put this Google as a link. So for now, if I refresh my page, I'm going to have this is a link to Google. This is just text. How can we make this Google a link? So I can say my A, I can put this Google in between your A. So I'm going to have an opening tag and a closing A tag. So for this link attribute, I'm going to have this href. So href equals to URL. The URL is the link. So I can put this, I can say, okay, my href equals to, then I'm going to put the link. So let me say Google something, Google whatever. So I'm going to copy this link address. So now I'm going to paste this link address in this Google. So now if I refresh my page, I'm going to have this link now. Then if I click on this link, it must take me to google.com. So another thing that we observe is that when I click this link is opened on my website, so it affects my website. What if I don't want this link to affect my website? That's where you can use this target attribute. So you can say target equals to then underscore blank. So now if I refresh, now if I click Google, so it was I think I made a mistake there. So it's target equals to, so it was a typo here, target. Now I can refresh again. So if I say target, now if I click Google, my website is still there. Then Google is opened on a different tab. So that's how you use the link attribute. This link attribute can be anything. It can be another page, maybe contact.html. It can be anything. It can be another HTML website. It can be any other link. So that's how the A tag works, or the hyperlink tag. So it's A followed by href. Href is for your link, then equals to, then you put your URL, then you put the text that you want to be your link. So this was the target attribute. So we saw how it works. Then another thing that we have, now we can use pesticide to observe something. If we use pesticide, we can see that we have this is a link. Then we have this Google. Notice that this Google is inside what? It's inside this A. So at the end, this is just a box. It's inside this HTML tags. So in between, this A tag forms a box also. So this is just a box. And notice that this one doesn't take the whole width like the paragraph tag and the heading tag did. So this one, it only takes the width of the content. In this case, our content is the text. So now we can look at the next part. So we have the div element. So the div element is used to divide your page into sections. So used to divide a division. This one is used to define a division or a section in an HTML document. So now we can move to other things. So the next part is your tables. So this is going to be a long, boring session because it's the theory. So now you have your tables. So for the tables,